What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cleveland Uprising podcast about Cleveland. We are currently in the stage of, we call it the trifecta. We're doing three developments that are happening, three about to happen, and then three things about Cleveland that we think need to happen, change, or be done. My name's Brent Reed, and then we got over here Danny Hernandez. Um, and and we are just talking about Cleveland. So, like, the current stage of Cleveland, Danny. Like, what do you think? What do you think is exciting about it? What's going on? What needs? Is anything about it? What's going on?
I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening in the city, right? They've been going on for a while.
Yeah,
We have the one project on West 25th by the West Side Market. That's pretty much completely done right now. It
intro.
seems
Yeah,
like, yeah, there's a lot of businesses that moved in, um, on the front of the building, like Bank of America, which Bank of America really didn't have a presence here too much.
yeah. I'd forgotten that one. That one moved in. So it's an anchor tenant because that's a bank. Just think
Yeah.
about that being. Why would a bank go anywhere that's not going to be lucrative?
Well,
For
Bank of America, though, it's like one of the bigger banks of the United States. So it's interesting that we're having more of them open up. I think there's another location out in the west, somewhere in the west suburbs. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm actually excited about this project on West 117 called Studio West 117, and it's going to be basically, it's going to be this, entertainment hub on the west side, LGBTQ plus entertainment hub, I guess. And so, I mean, there's really nothing. We don't have anything compared to Columbus. Like Columbus on High Street has a lot of different choices for the LGBTQ community. We really don't have anything here, other than Twist, and it's just not enough. We don't have enough. So I'm kind of excited about that. But there's even more, things happening all around the city. Like obviously, the biggest project right now is Sherwin Williams, and that will be completed, I believe, sometime this year.
um, the exact finish date, I'm not 100% sure on, but I know they finished a lot of the groundwork, which they had to dig out the hole, do all the plumbing, do all that stuff. They finished that. The cranes are going up, so it's basically just all the hard foundation work with the plumbing. The electrical's done. I going down there taking some pictures myself, and basically done with the groundwork, done with what needs to be done base level. Now it's going to go up. So uh, probably see some beams going in soon, some structural work of the frame, and that's going to go a lot quicker than the groundwork was. The groundwork, I think it's been going on about a year, if not more now, because of a lot of technical stuff needs to be done and infrastructure work, and I think electrical grid stuff like that. So plumbing mainly. Plumbing is probably one of the most challenging parts. I would assume in a building. Can't have any cracks in that. You can't go back underground and dig it up underneath a skyscraper necessarily. So
Yeah, it's a huge project. I mean, it's supposed to be over 1 million square foot, and it's going to be the global headquarters of Sherwin Williams, as most people probably know. It's great to have a company like that here. We definitely need more of a global presence. I think it's great to have companies with that type of presence. So that's amazing. Also, they have here's another project that's so a lot of stuff happens in the city or it happens in Ohio City, Tremont also, which is great. It's great, but they're actually looking to expand in University Circle, and the project is called they call it Circle Square, and it's supposed to be the second largest development in that area. So 24-story apartments are going to be built, and actually, construction began last spring. So that's pretty exciting. And then there's another building being built around that area. So there's more development going on. And I think University Circuit is one of the better, um, you know, type of tourist attractions we have. Not just that, but just for student living and young professional living. It has a lot to offer. There's a lot of entertainment choices around there, a lot of cultural choices like the museum. And so I think it's great that, if they continue to build on that area, because that's a pretty cool area of town, I think.
yeah, again, we're going back to the intro here. That's the largest wooden timber, technically, building in the USA at the moment. Um,
That's right. Yeah.
and I'm not sure how many stories it is. It looks around 10 to 15 to me. I think it's 10, 15, but the building basically is overlooking the city on an angle, which you can see the entire skyline. There's a pool on top for the residents. Beautiful. I was walking past it one night with a buddy. There's a wedding going on. There's people literally in a reception hall that I've seen it before. And this reception hall is it's big. It's huge. It's done for like city events, things like that. It's got a wooden ceilings in all the rooms, beams. The theme of it, the nature of that being in the core of the city, being able to market the city, promote what's going on here. It's exciting, but uh, not only that, but it's right across from the West Side Market. That being said, the shops below are going to get a lot of like cross promotion. They could probably cross promote one another. There's a coffee shop at the corner of I know it's off the edge of West 25th and the West Side Market there. So that is basically going to get a lot of traffic, from the businesses and the West Side Market, and then a lot of tenants need to still fill spots in there. There's a few open leases there, but like Danny said, the Bank of America in there. I'm assuming a few of the restaurants are probably going to go in there. My assumption is it's going to be like an area for a few nice restaurants. That would be very smart, and a few shops, but you know, the nature of that being a newer building, it's going to take some time to get some anchor tenants in there once the residents move in and things like that. So if anyone's saying, oh, there's nobody's in there, right? It just got built, It's just like a lot of places downtown. I mean, you got to make retail below all these residential units, and the reason why they're not filled are because the market is growing, so they'll be filled eventually here soon.
And there's other projects right in that area, right south of that intro building. There's another. I forget exactly where it's at. I think it might be off of Train Avenue. I'm not sure, but it's right around the bridge where the bridge heads over to the other south of West 25th towards Clark Fulton. There's another building being built there. I noticed that, and that's going up. I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but I mean, that's so there's some development going on south of the West Side Market area. So that's actually pretty exciting, just because it's expanding south. It used to be just that part of Ohio City.
Was it development called again?
Oh, I don't know what it's called, but I know it's south of the intro building. It's right where the bridge leads into the other.
Bridge, right? It's right across from there. Yeah, I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. That's a whole new residential complex.
Yeah, heading south towards the Clark Fulton area. So.
That was like a hill, like a molded out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
I'm surprised they're building something there. Yeah.
like literally there was nothing even. Who do you think you could build something there? I think they anchored obviously the ground to make it secure. Then they built a apartment complex in an area which you thought,
Yeah, you wouldn't imagine it. I wouldn't have. And then
amazing what that's going to do for the area.
And it's right by the
bring
bridge.
Those residents to those businesses we just talked about with the intro. It's amazing you mentioned that because that's going to bring all this other business and growth that we stimulated in the area. I mean, I don't think when I studied city planning out for my master's, at CSU downtown, it basically got me to the point where I realized the growth of things when you put other businesses near it. You have to start with places for businesses to go, which are the leasing opportunities. You have to start with residents. You have to continue to build block by block. So it's just going to be a good thing for a lot of the ownership in Tremont too. There's properties to own there too. So the residents are going to have a lot more to grow here off the edge of a historic district like Tremont, Ohio City.
It used to be that 5 to 10 years ago. Well, I don't know about 5 years ago, but like 10 to 15 years ago, we probably only had like 2 or 3 projects that we can talk about that were happening in the city, at least that we knew about, that was out in the news and people had some knowledge about. Now, you can't really limit it. I mean, there's two or three. It's nothing compared to what we have now. We have so many projects. I mean, there's like 20 different projects going on right now, and those are the ones that we know about. Those are the ones that have been, basically, there's public knowledge to those. But there's probably even more stuff, and coming up that we don't even know about that they're trying to get together.
As we talked about Sherwin-Williams downtown, their tallest building is going to be right around the size of the Huntington building downtown, which is 30-some stories. They'd mentioned and rumored building as tall as the Key Bank, which is 54 stories, 947 feet tall, right around that point. I don't think that's going to get that tall, but the nucleus we keep forgetting about, which that fell through, but it's there's going to be something similar to that built because of that talk of that project, something similar to that or that similar magnitude is going to be built in that area. So it's going to be, as we looked at the edge of Lakewood, taking a walk out here by Lakewood Park, we saw the skyline off the edge of Cleveland. And we could post some of that with the podcast and kind of talk about that because I think that's interesting and maybe I'll point some things out with the skyline. There's a there can be no gaps in that skyline. I mean, there's going to be 2 or 3 more buildings the size of the Huntington. It's a big deal. And then the Lumens is what I was trying to get to here. The Lumens is the tallest residential tower ever built in the city of Cleveland. I believe it's right around the size of 30 stories, some tall, 600 feet tall, roughly. And it's in Playhouse Square. That is a luxury building. It's extraordinarily expensive to rent there, but what that does, it raises the market value for the rest of Cleveland and its residents. So we need those luxury cost buildings to raise the market value for the other homeowners. So if anyone talks about, we do need affordable housing, we're not even going to have funds to build those housing without the funds from the rentals downtown. So we have to have that wealth coming in our city to raise the market value of the homes around Cleveland. That's how it works. So you build the core of the city first, use that tax base, and build the rest of the remaining parts of the city. But you talk about upcoming development. There's some upcoming development, hypothetical development, off of the edge of Scranton Peninsula down by the West Bank, in the East Bank down there. So the West Bank, Scranton Peninsula is like a mitten in the middle of the river downtown. It talked about apartments being built down there. I know there's a Brewdog brewery down there. Awesome, love it. It seems to be that's the type of things we need down there. I do know a few rumors of things that would be built down there. There was I think, a whiskey distillery going to be built down there. Another brewery. The breweries are big in Cleveland, but that's going to build restaurants down there. It's going to be still family oriented to the extent of like the way that it's set up. We'll make sure it goes by city ordinances and codes. So there's a few apartment complexes off the river down there being built. There was something called Thunderbird that was going to be built, similar to like the nucleus type of talk. Not sure what's happening with that, but they did lease out. Geist Corporations leased out, which is a huge development corporation, downtown company. It leased out the land. It's got the marketing for like a Crocker Park off the water down there, and that's gigantic. So it's just gonna be exciting to see what potentially happens because the development part of it happening. Oh, the nucleus didn't happen. Oh, the Thunderbird didn't happen. True, but here's the thing. What that does is that the only reason that they knew that those things could happen, funding was actually. I mean, if the funding would have happened, it would have happened because we knew the city was able to get it done, like with the permits, with the zoning, with the ordinances. It literally was an actual, it could have happened if the funding was there. It's not like a dream. Oh, we'll see if it happens. This literally is going to happen to some extent. So some development will happen in those areas. That's the point now. So that's why we continue to need talk about these areas getting developed. That's what this feed's about. That's what Cleveland Uprising's about. That's what Cleveland's about now. There's a lot of incredible blogs and people around Cleveland that I love that are doing it. We need to continue this. This podcast will be weekly. Weekly is one of those things, but weekly ideas. But we're at least going to have something probably every few weeks. Talk for at least 15 minutes, half hour. Anybody's got any ideas? Shoot them our way.
Hey, real quick, I think the name of that project south of West 25th, or heading south on West 25th, south of the West Side Market, I believe it's called a Trio, if I'm not mistaken.
The trio.
Yeah.
The trio's, yeah, right across from, next to the West Side Market, across from the intro, which is the wooden building.
Or no, not across. I believe is well,
By the bridge, right?
by the bridge.
By the
If
Guardians.
I'm not mistaken, that's the one.
I know what you're talking
it's
about.
7-story tall. If I'm not mistaken, that's the name of it.
You know, and as we go on with podcasts, we'll get a little more in tune here. It's literally the first go around. We're hoping this podcast from years from now will be a milestone for us listening to it ourselves here. But a few things we want to talk about. We talked about 3 developments that were happening, 3 that were going to happen. Now we're talking about 3 things that right around there that are going to need to be done, hypothetically should be done, or that we have ideas about. So one thing that I can think about, we need to organize downtown so we could build as high as we can build. There's no limit to the height of buildings, period. They limit the height of buildings to the key bank. That needs to stop. That's why companies don't come here and build. They want to build at a heavens because they have that's their company's building. We need to stop that. But we can't obstruct views of the city. We cannot obstruct.
Well, I mean, it will be
That.
nice to have build. I mean, I'm glad for all the projects that we have. It will be nice if we have, if some project will come and challenge the Key Tower's height. Key Tower has been definitely I don't know how to say, a landmark right here in Cleveland, right, for many years. But it would be nice if we get something else that's going to be taller than the Key Bank. But a lot of, it seems like a lot of the tall buildings are not, it's something that are not
Above a
built.
1,000 feet, right? We have 947. You know what I mean, brother?
So,
Above
I mean,
1,000 feet.
I'm happy with the Key Tower, but it would be nice to have something similar to the Key Tower, if not taller. Why not?
Now, like, what would you say that building should be of? Like, I think that offices are not, with COVID and everything else, that's just changed the world forever. Office buildings are no longer, unfortunately, they're going to come back. It's going to come back because you want to have an office in the city, you want to overlook the city, and I think it's going to come back. And I think to an extent it's going to come back. This is going to sound funny, but even stronger than it was before. Not yet, though. So Cleveland needs to get in the market first with, you can probably have a cheaper building, or you can probably get, the thing is, like, office towers, you need them because that's what brings all the businesses. Even if you could have 100 offices in the building that are like really pronounced offices, maybe a floor for an office, a big section for an office, and you could have a corporation there that's going to bring 100 million to the city. So that's why we have to have those office buildings in the city. We cannot distract them because COVID did not shut that down. The suppression of not being in a physical office will bring it back because COVID's going to go away. Okay, it's already going away as far as I'm
That's pretty
concerned.
much. It's out of the news cycle, and you really don't hear much about it now. So we're definitely out of the cold
There
era.
will be a post-COVID office market boom, and Cleveland needs to get into that as soon as we can because the big cities have huge borderline luxury office buildings where there's like a floor of a company there. We talked about Amazon coming here, right? The plan that Amazon had was taking a lot of real estate from the city that the city proposed to Amazon, which, I mean, we obviously want Amazon here, but we don't. It should be more of in a vertical aspect. That's why we need those office buildings here. If we had something like that, maybe they could have come to a smaller scale. They could have planted a smaller office, maybe 6, 10 floors, 10 floors in our city, and they would have still created thousands of jobs. Then they could have eventually had a place for a bigger headquarters, but we didn't have that. And that's a problem. That's why we can't limit the height of buildings. That's why we got to have it's 100 stories like New York has. We have to have tiers of buildings so we can see the skyline, see the views. Because from offices, think about it. If you have an office building or something, you want to see the freaking lake. You want to see the city, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great draw, to the city, our lake. And I mean, we can. That's another podcast, because lakefront project development that's been talked about for so many, many years. I mean, we're going back 20 plus years, and a lot of talk has been, said about, Burke Lakefront Airport being, redone so we can have some development
Burke.
down there.
Burke's a whole nother
Yeah, that's a
podcast.
whole nother podcast
That's
right
a
there.
whole nother podcast, bro.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully in the future we will see some, we'll see some development in that area. I mean, I think it's inevitable. Whether it gets done or not, that's another, another topic, I guess. But I think we're, if you go, I've been to Chicago quite a few times, and one of the better cities in this country, and Chicago's big draw is their lake and all the, everything that they have to offer as far as on the lake. Most of their downtown is, on the lake, and there's a lot of different, they developed the lakefront, and it looks amazing. I mean, I like our lakefront. Don't get me wrong. When you go out around the Shoreway or heading out east to University Martin Luther King Drive and University Circle, that's a wonderful area of town that we have. We have that Shoreway, but the lakefront in Chicago, it's 100 times more developed than that, and that's where we need to get to. But I mean, that's another podcast, right there.
Without the lakefront in Chicago, Chicago wouldn't even be Chicago.
Exactly. I mean, it's got its neighborhoods, but it's got its neighborhoods because they're,
So
they're
you're
downtown.
saying
It's
if
part of
we
it.
actually did what we could do with Burke, which we need to, there's been pushback. We gotta keep pushing until they just collapse because they will. We need to get that free stuff done. We can keep an airport and still have buildings on literally half of that thing. We don't have to bully out an airport. We could utilize it.
Well, not necessarily bully them out, but
That's how big it is.
I think
though.
just give them an offer. It's really underused lakefront. I mean,
But if we work
airport,
with that
so-
airport, we can build on it. If we just kick them out, that's the problem. They're not gonna. The airport would probably be willing to sell up half that land and get a lot of money. Then we could do something on it to start. Then eventually, they're just gonna leave anyway because they're gonna realize, listen, we can't be here with. That's what we gotta do. But if we just try to kick them out, they're gonna be resistant. They're gonna say no. But if we work with them, that's how it's gonna get done.
Absolutely, yeah. We definitely want to work with the airport and see where we can, come together in agreement with. But like I said, Chicago's lakefront is amazing, and that's what Cleveland should aim for. That definitely should aim for that.
See, how big is Cedar Point? We can actually look that up. Let me try to look this up. Cedar Point size, because it's the size of Cedar Point. Um, Cedar Point. So the size of Cedar Point is 364 acres. So basically, the size of Cedar Point, which is 346 acres, that's how big Burke Airport is. Roughly, they're saying. That's what some article saying that.
Okay.
So that is literally, it's doubling up downtown, plus maybe even. See, Burke might be actually bigger than downtown. I think it might be almost as big as that. Like literally about that size.
Oh yeah.
That's like doubling up our city, plus lakefront. I mean, if we built Burke, Cleveland would be a super city. It would be an absolute empire. There would be no debating it. And then we have our riverfront. It's going to happen. We'll make sure it happens. So to close here, a few more. We talked about a few things in Cleveland. Another thing will probably just be make sure we have pocket parks, little parks in Cleveland like New York has. Perfect example. New York's really good at this. They have little pocket parks. Chicago's great at it. Like private pocket parks. We have a few of them. We have one by Reserve Square that's beautiful, but more like that. Little pocket green spaces, which are for the citizens, but I'm talking like intimate ones where every building we have, we need to have like a green space connected. So, Cleveland's building, Cleveland's Uprising. This is Danny Hernandez here. Next to me, Brent Reed. We will continue these podcasts. It's a test run, and we thank you for listening in. Contact clevelanduprising.com for any inquiries, any topics you want us to talk about, anything that you think Cleveland needs to be aware of, get done, keep rolling with. Signing out.
Out.